What animals are tested for drug residues?
Animals being sent to slaughter are regulated under the USDA, FSIS, or Food Safety Inspection Service. These veterinarians inspect animals closely through the entire harvesting process to ensure that only safe and high-quality food enters our food supply. If an animal were to come back with a violative residue, that animal is removed from the supply chain and that food never enters the food supply for human consumption.
Dairy farmers have the advantage of on-farm milk testing. This means that if a violative residue were to be found by on-farm testing, it would not be picked up and it would not enter the milk food supply.
All milk is heavily regulated and the level of residues found in milk is incredibly low.
We have a strict system here on our farm to ensure that it never even reaches the bulk tank. And then we have quality control where we have a certified FDA lab that then tests that on site. And we test every batch of milk to ensure that there's no antibiotic residue.
In addition to milk being tested on site, every tanker in the United States is screened for beta-lactam antibiotics prior to unloading at a milk processing plant. These drugs include penicillin, ampicillin, amoxicillin, cefepime, and ceftiofur, which is one of the most commonly utilized antibiotic types or classes in lactating dairy cows. Other drugs may be screened for by employing a random sampling program.
As far as the drug residue prevention programs, as far as the dairy program goes, we have since probably the 1970s, it's been mandatory that a monthly sample be taken of every producer's milk.
Milk in the United States is tested. Every single load of milk is tested to minimize the hazards that we face. The milk is tested for a wide spectrum of antibiotics, but we know there still could be risks out there.
Advances in analytical technologies have yielded more efficient screening processes. Multiplex array panels are able to screen for more than 50 different residues at once, and are able to detect residues at much lower levels than was previously possible. What are the consequences of a positive drug residue test?
If it's on a multiple dairy load of milk, meaning there's multiple dairy farms represented on that load of milk, we break down the load with the individual samples collected at each farm from every pickup and determine the farm that caused the drug residue on that tanker load of milk, and that farm is responsible for the entire tanker load through their milk marketing cooperative, responsible for recouping the costs through insurance or something like that.
First-time violators will receive a notification letter. Repeat offenders are individuals that repeatedly present adulterated animals for slaughter within a 12-month period. Adulterated means impure or poorer in quality due to the addition of another substance. If a residue violation occurs after the warning letter, then injunction will be considered.
More than 3 in a calendar year, more than 3 confirmed, that we will call that farm in for a hearing as part of our regulatory process to determine why does this keep occurring, and that hearing is to determine whether they can keep their permit to produce milk.
In the rare instance that violative antibiotic residue occurs, or that, in other words, that milk or meat tested higher than the tolerance level, that animal will never enter the food supply for human consumption.